Today we're going to go ahead and write and graph the standard form of equation of a circle. It's going to be presented to us in a different form than what we're used to, but we're going to have to modify it or rewrite the equation that's given so that it's in standard form. Then we're going to go ahead and use that information to graph our beautiful equation of a circle. Okay, so standard form, I'm going to go ahead and review what that is so that you guys refresh your beautiful memories from that. Okay, so circle, it's a set of all points in a plane that are equidistant from a given point called the center of the circle. So here we have an example. Here's our center. That distance that we call from the center to the circle is what we call the radius. If we go from the center to both extremities in a straight line, that's what we call diameter, right? And circumference is everything on the circle. All right, so here is our standard equation of our circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And I'll go in step by step on what they represent. Here are non-examples. Yes, we do have our x squared in the equation, but let's not confuse it with the quadratic equation, right? Very similar, yet different. It only gives us a little piece of that variable squared. We still need that y squared included in there. And also let's not confuse it with the square. Even though we're talking about squareds here. Power to the 2. All right. So here is the equation where we got every piece from it. If you guys remember, we have a circle. The center is going to be represented by our point C, which is going to have the coordinates h and k. And the point that falls on the circle is our point P, which has our coordinates x and y. And A is an arbitrary point that has the coordinates x and k. This creates our right triangle that we are familiar with, so that we can go ahead and find the distance of r, right, of our radius. Now from here, we went over the equation. I went over how it's derived, and we found out that h and k are basically the coordinates to our center, and r is our radius. But something that I want you guys to notice is that it's given here in the equation, it is squared. So we have to do something in order for us to get the radius by itself, right? Isolated. So here goes our first example. It says right here, write the equation of the circle, then graph. Our given equation is x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2 minus 10x plus 6y plus 30 equals 0. So it might be a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of terms here, but we're going to go ahead and take it step by step and see what is it that we needed to do. Now, if you guys remember our standard form of the circle, or the equation of the circle, is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? So we need to, give me a second, guys. Whenever my tablet decides to work, there you go. We need to remember that it's written in that form, in standard form. So from here, let's go ahead and write that. Plus y minus k squared equals r squared, right? All of my terms are squared, and I have h and k, which represents my center, right? My center point. I need to modify or rewrite our beautiful equation here. Yes, if we were to graph this using a graphing calculator tool, it would give us a circle. But in order for us to identify the parts and graph it by hand, we have to, like I said, rewrite it. How do we do that? First item, I'm going to rewrite my equation so that all the terms with the same variables are written together. Why? You'll see why right now. So I'm going to focus on my x variable. This one's my x squared, and negative 10x, and that's it for my x's. So here is x squared minus 10x, and now I'm going to go ahead and group or put them together. On the other side, y squared, and I have 6y plus 6y. and my constant towards the end. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to group my two beautiful variables, my terms with my variables with the x and my terms with my variable y. And I'm going to go ahead and leave out the constant. The reason why is because we're going to go ahead and do a strategy or a method that we've been doing so far, which is called completing the square. So if you guys remember what it is, you guys will be able to do this. If you guys don't, then I'll go ahead and refresh your memories on that as well. Now, how does that happen? If you guys remember, we're going to go ahead and write it in standard form. It's written already in standard form. Now we're going to go ahead and move the constant to our right side by eliminating it. So subtract 30 on one side, subtract 30 on the opposite side. Then I'm going to rewrite my beautiful equation with an open space. Now, that would happen only with our x value, but since we have y in that category too, we're going to go ahead and do that as well. So let me rewrite everything. Here is x to the power 2 minus 10x plus that open spot, because we're going to complete the square for the terms with my x variable. Very similar, we're going to go ahead and do the same with our y. So we're doing it twice basically in the same equation. So y to the power of 2 plus 6y plus that open space equals negative 30. Now I'm going to go ahead and do something else here. Remember that we did completing the square here, plus that open space here, plus that open space here. Why do we have two open space? Because we're going to go ahead and add that half b squared on both sides of the equation for both groups, right? For variables with my x and the terms with the variables with my y, right? So we're going to go ahead and do the same twice. So if I added this term that I'm going to add here, I have to add it also on my right side. If I add on my left side here, I have to also repeat that step so that we can go ahead and keep our balance even. Now, if you guys remember how to complete the square. Now, if we were to, again, group, we're continuing to group our terms here. We have x to the power of 2 minus 10x plus blank. How do we get that third term? Well, this is going to be my b. And I'm going to go ahead and name it b sub 1 because that's my first b. I don't want to confuse it with my second b. And my b sub 1 here in this case is negative 10. So let me go ahead and do that work. B sub 1 divided by 2 squared. My b sub 1 is 10, or negative 10, divided by 2 squared. Let's see, it's going to be negative 5 squared, which is positive 25, right? So in this case, this term here would be positive 25. Completing the square for my x values. Positive 25 here, positive 25 here as well. Now I'm going to repeat this here as well, with my terms with the y variable. And this is going to be my b sub 2, or my second b, basically, and do the same work. So I'm going to go ahead and make some space up here. B sub 2 divided by 2 squared. B sub 2 is 6. 6 divided by 2 squared. 3 squared, which gives me 9, right? So in this case, completing the square for this term would be 9, adding 9 on both sides. Can I do that? Yes. As long as I'm doing something to one side, I have to do it to the opposite side. One side, opposite side. Again, we're rewriting it, we're modifying it just a little bit so that we can go ahead and do our beautiful factoring now. Do you guys remember factoring? So if I were to factor this part of my equation, x to the power of 2 minus 10x plus 25, you guys can do your factoring methods that you guys would like to use. but we know that it would be x minus what item would give me 25, or what two numbers give me 25 when I multiply them and add them, give me negative 10. It would be negative 5, right? Negative 5 squared. So from here we factor. Very similar to this piece of our equation. Now this time we do have y as our variable. We're used to seeing x, but this time we have y. Same strategy applies. What number gives me the product of 9? What two numbers multiply 9? When you add them, give you 6. And you guys can go ahead and use your method where it's 9, your product, and your sum is 6. They're always going to be the numbers are always going to be the same because we have completed the square. So in this case, I hope you guys saw that we have 3 as a number. Don't forget our squared. Now on the left side, we just go ahead and continue and simplify. Sorry, not left side, right side. Negative 30 plus 25 plus 9. What does that give us, guys? I hope you guys can tell me. 30 plus 25 gives me negative 5. Negative 5 plus 9, positive 4. Now, does it look familiar to you guys? Now, is it written in standard form? How we usually, or how we saw it last time. From here, we can go ahead and see what my center is and what my radius is. My center is our h and k, our coordinate h and k. But notice that the center here is written the opposite value. So let me go ahead and change my tool. My center here, this is h, this is k. Something that I want you guys to notice is that it's going to be the opposite, right? So if it's negative in our equation, it's going to be positive in our coordinate. If it's positive in our equation, it's going to be negative in our coordinate. I hope that made sense. So if it's negative, it's positive, and if it's positive, it's negative. The opposite of its value. Now, r is squared, right? So we know that r, let me go ahead and write it here. R squared is 4 in this equation. We're going to go ahead and isolate it. R is going to be the square root, or r squared is going to be the square root both sides. R now is the positive value. We're only considering the positive value because they're talking about distance of whatever our right side is in our equation. So our radius here would be positive, not 4, positive 2. Now, how do we graph this beautiful circle? Our center is given. It's at 5, negative 3, positive 5, negative 3, right here. And our radius is 2. So we can go up to 1, 2. Here's one radius, 1, 2. Here's another radius, 1, 2. Here's another radius, and 1, 2. So we have our 4 radius in the 4 directions, up, down, left, and right. And you can go ahead and just use your beautiful tools if you guys have one, where it helps you approximate its distance around. So it doesn't have to be beautiful, but as close as possible. There you go. And we have graphed our circle with all that information out here. So one thing to do is just to complete the square, regroup everything, complete the square, and identify our center and our radius from our standard form of the equation of our circle, right? Our equation that's given here. All right. So our radius is not 4. It's the square root of what my right side of the equation is. Remember that r is squared. It has to be taken, the square root has to be taken for both sides, right? Of r squared, it has to be taken so that we can go ahead and get r by itself. I hope it made sense. We're going to go ahead and continue to practice so that we can get more used to the process of this. Again, I recommended you guys last time to review the completing the square method so that we can go ahead and go on. All right, so here's example number 2. We have x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2 plus 4x plus 6y plus 4 equals 0. So first things first, let's go ahead and group all of our x's together and all of our y's together and eliminate that beautiful constant to the other side. So let me go ahead and group. I have y, sorry, not y, x squared, 4x. So I'm grouping it together. And I have y to the power of 2 and 6y. And I'm going to eliminate that 4, right? Equals -4. Now from here, I'm going to complete the square for both of my terms here that I've grouped together for my x's and my y's. So let me go ahead and rewrite this so you guys can see it. I have x to the power of 2 plus 4 plus that open space. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys give me that completing the square, what my half b squared is. So over here we have y to the power of 2 plus 6y plus that open space equals -4. And then we're going to go ahead and make sure we add those two terms. Not forget to add them also on the right side. I know I go into the graph. I apologize. I need more space. Okay, so from here, how do I complete the square for my first group of my terms over here for x's? X squared plus 4x plus that open space. Remember, this is my b sub 1, my first b. What would it give me? What's b in this case? B would be 4. So 4 divided by 2 squared would be 2 squared. In this case, it would be +4. And the next one, I'm going to go ahead and do it in my head. This one is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Again, if you guys want me to go step by step on that, this is my b sub 2. It's not 6, sorry. 6 divided by 2 squared is 9. All right, so let's not forget to add it onto both sides. So over here we have 4, and over here we have 9. All right, let's go ahead and factor and simplify my right side. So how do I factor? What would be my factor here? I would have x. Over here, I would have y. And what would be my right side? What would be my two factors or my factor squared? For x squared plus 4x plus 4. 2. So it would be adding or subtracting 2? Adding, so it would be plus 2. And for y? Adding or subtracting 3? Adding 3, so plus 3. And my right side? Negative 4 plus 4 plus 9? All right, so let's go ahead and get our center. My center is HK. You guys remember the standard form? X minus H squared plus Y minus K squared equals R squared. This is going to be the opposite value. So what would be my center? You guys got this, come on. My center would be what? Super close, Luis. Remember that whenever it's written in the equation, it's going to be its opposite value for the coordinate. Okay, I'll help you guys out. Negative 2, opposite value, negative 3. There you go. And R, it would always be the square root of what is shown in the equation. So in this case, our equation says that R squared is what we have our constant on the right side. So R squared in this equation is 9. I do have to take the square root. Both sides R is, and we only take the positive value, is 3. So our radius is 3 in this case. So let's go ahead and graph our point. I know it's going to go into my work over here, but that's okay. Negative 2, negative 3. My radius is 3, so I go 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 to my right, 1, 2, 3 to my left, 1, 2, 3 down. The only reason why I do those 4 directions is because it's easier for me to draw it and connect my points, right? But since I draw very ugly here, I need to to draw it freehand and then move it. But it's okay. And that's my circle. So if I were to write this equation in a graphing calculator or any graphing program, it would be the same. But in order for us to do it by hand, we have to modify our beautiful equation so that we can go ahead and identify the center and identify the radius. Once we have those 2 items, boom, we can go ahead and graph it as we go. So step by step, group our terms together, remove or eliminate your constant, complete the square for both of the groupings, our x values, our y values. Make sure we then factor so that we can go ahead and identify our center and identify that beautiful radius that we have. Okay, I think I'm going to do one more. Something else that I want to address. Actually, I'm going to do 2 more so you can go ahead and have more practice. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and clear. All right, so let me go ahead and do example number 3. We have x to the power of 2, y to the power of 2 plus 4x minus 4y minus 1 equals 0. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys tell me again how to complete the square. I know it's a lot of graphing or a lot of writing, but I want you guys to focus first on the equation and then graph. Okay, so let's go ahead and group first. So here are my x's. Here are my y's. And here's the constant, right, that I'm going to eliminate. So that's all I did, it's group. So I'm going to rewrite it. So it's x to the power of 2 plus 4x. And this time I'm going to skip a step just because I want to save some space. And I'm going to add that beautiful open space that I know I'm going to already do. Next item, I'm going to group my y's. Y squared minus 4y plus that open space equals, on my right side, I have 1. And remember, we're going to go ahead and add those two items that we are going to do when we complete the square. Right? So from here, we're going to go ahead and identify our b's. So this is my b sub 1, b sub 2, the second term whenever I group them together, and complete the square. So this case, b is 4. We did this one already before. So it's 2, b sub 1 divided by 2 squared. 4 divided by 2 squared is 2 squared, which is 4. So in this case, I add 4 on both sides. And very similar to this one, b sub 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. All right. Okay, I'll let you guys give me the squares now. Let's see what you guys get. Our factors. This one is going to have x to the power of 2. This one is going to have y to the power of 2. Now we're going to either subtract or add whatever the factor is, right? Add or subtract whatever the factor is. And on my right side, I need to simplify 1 plus 4 plus 4 gives me 9. Okay. So over here, if you need to factor by using your product, so this one numbers give me 4. Multiply 4, add, give me 4. In this case, it would be positive 2. And then very similar to this one, what two numbers? We multiply, give me positive 4. When we add, give us negative 4. It would be negative 2 and negative 2, correct? This one would be minus 2. So again, we're completing the square so that we can go ahead and identify now those beautiful parts. So what's my center and what's my radius in this case? You guys remember we had the standard form. Let's see, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. What would be my center? The coordinate to my center. And that would be correct. Negative 2 and positive 2. It comes out as the opposite value from where it's written in the equation. So whatever it is, the opposite of it. So if it's positive 2, it's going to be negative 2. If it's negative 2, it's positive 2. And my radius, my radius is 3. So it's the square root because in the equation, it's r squared. R squared is 9, square root both sides. In this case, r would be 3. So negative 2, positive 2, right here, that's my center. And my radius of 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You guys know how to draw a circle. I'm freehanding it here. Very beautiful. But it's there. That's my circle. The radius of 3. My center at negative 2, positive 2. All right, let me go ahead and continue with the last one. The last one, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do. Let's see if you guys can do it on your own now. But there's an extra little step that I'm going to show you guys what to do. All right. I hope everybody had a chance to copy this down. If not, no worries. I can come back to this. Let me know if I'm going too fast. All right. Let me go ahead and clear. And to my last one, example number 4. This time we're given 3x squared plus 3y squared plus 6x plus plus 12y plus 3 equals 0. So yes, we were used to seeing just x squared and y squared as our first two leading terms with a coefficient of 1. This time we do have a coefficient of 3, which we can solve several methods. But I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a different method here than what is shown in the book. Okay. Here I notice that I do have coefficients of 3 and 6, 12, and a constant of 3. If you guys notice carefully, all of my terms have or are multiples of 3. My goal here is because I want to continue to complete the square. And in order for me to complete the square, my first term or my term has to be or has to have a coefficient of 1, meaning that it has to be x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2. These two leading coefficients that we have here, two leading terms, have to have a coefficient of 1 in order for me to complete the square. Now, how do I do that? How do I make all of those terms or these two terms, which is the ones that I want, have a coefficient of 1? Well, I can go ahead and group them and then factor whatever I need to factor out. Or I can go ahead and, you know what, find what they have in common. They have in common 3, right? All the terms have common or they're multiples of 3. So I'm going to divide every single term before I begin by these leading coefficients, right? By 3. Every single term. If I do it to my left side, I can do it to my right side. I'm still honoring that that golden method, right? That golden rule of our equations. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So therefore, I can go ahead and rewrite my equation as x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 2 plus this time, this simplifies to 2, so 2x plus 12 divided by 3 is 4, so 4y. And 3 divided by 3 is 1 equals 0 divided by 3, 0. So basically, I modified it a little bit more because intentionally, I want these two terms to have a coefficient of 1. That's what I want to have in order for me to complete the square. If I don't do that, then I cannot complete the square. Okay? All right. So from here, same procedure happens. We can go ahead and now do our beautiful grouping and complete the square. So x to the power of 2 plus 2x plus my open space plus, let's go ahead and group my y. So I have y to the power of 2 plus 4y plus my open space equals, I needed to eliminate that constant. So over here I have -1 equals -1. And I'm going to add my two constants that I'm going to complete or do once I complete the square. All right, I'll let you guys complete the square this time. Let's see what you guys get. And I think we did second one already before. So this one, let me go ahead and do it very quickly. 2 divided by 2, 1, 1 squared is 1. So add 1 on both sides. This one's 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. All right, so from here, we can go ahead and write them as our factors, right? Let's go ahead and factor it. Plus y to the power of 2. And let's see what we get. X will be what? What's my factor? Adding or subtracting 1. So in this case, it's plus 1. And y, adding or subtracting 2. So we're going to add 2 on both sides and simplify my right side. Negative 1 plus 1 plus 4 is positive 4. So let's go ahead and identify our center and identify our radius. My center is the opposite of what I have in my equation. So negative 1, negative 2, my radius is r squared. So r squared is 4, square root, r equals 2, positive 2, and that's correct. So negative 1, negative 2, my radius of 2. And I go ahead and graph my circle. Any questions on all of this?